Welcome you all. Special welcome to our chief guest, Mr. U.P. Singh, our Honorable Secretary of Ministry of Water Resources, and also special welcome to our esteemed speakers who will be discussing during this particular webinar. What I will do now, before I'll just briefly introduce the topic, what we are really looking at, and basically during this webinar on water management and optimum usage, we will be discussing today under the chief guest, Mr. U.P. Singh's guidance. And we have esteemed panel members, Dr. Ashwini Saxena, Sourav Daspatnaik, and in place of Mr. Singh, we have Sourav, and myself will be moderating this particular webinar. As we know that water is a very critical aspect for the country like India, 1.3 billion population, and as per the estimate by the FAO in 2008, 90% of the water is used in agriculture and livestock in India, whereas we have more basically coming from the groundwater irrigation as compared to the surface water irrigation in terms of the area as such. And when we look into the Indian scenarios, along with our growing population, our income levels are also increasing, and people are moving from vegetarian diet to non-vegetarian diet. And definitely the water footprint for the non-vegetarian diet is far, far higher, 3 times higher than the vegetarian diet, and that makes a lot of difference. If we look into vegetarian percentage population, by 2025, 50% of our population may be vegetarian, which will decline further to 40%. And there will be concurrent increase into the non-vegetarian population. And as a result, our daily water footprint, which is 15,000 for the non-vegetarian as compared to 4,500 liters per day for the vegetarian diet, will be dramatically increasing, and our total water requirement will shoot up from 3,650 billion cubic meter to 4,960 by 2025, and almost 7,000 billion cubic meter by 2050. Looking at this sort of demand, and the water is a finite resource, we cannot increase our water availability, as our annual precipitation is about 4,000 kilometers, and average annual potential in the rivers is about. And if we look into the existing surface storage, we have 214 cubic meter storage for the surface water, and our groundwater resource is about 433 cubic kilometer. Considering this, our per capita water availability is declining, and we go up to 685 cubic meter per capita per year, and that is a big challenge which we have to face. So we have no choice other than increasing the efficiency of water. And as such, because of the poor water management, we have this challenge in front of us. Otherwise, country should be self-sufficient for the water also, as we are for the food. So what it really needs for is basically bringing in the efficiency in our water management. And with that, our objective for the today's webinar is basically how we can create a coalition of corporates and companies of India's schemes for sustainable management of water, and what role corporates can play and are playing to be demonstrated at national level, and enhance the interaction amongst the corporate CSR heads and share their learnings with other stakeholders. With this sort of thing we will be basically looking at the esteemed speakers and guidance from our chief guest, Honorable Secretary Mr. U.P. Singh. I will briefly introduce our secretary, Mr. U.P. Singh, who is a 1985 batch IS officer. Professionally, he is a mechanical engineer, BTech from IIT Kanpur, and in 2016 he has joined the Ministry of Water Resources as such. Before that, he has worked as Additional Secretary in Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry. In 2017, he is working as Secretary of Water Resources, looking after development, rejuvenation of rivers, Pradhan Mantri your two World Bank aided projects. So, Honorable Secretary Mr. Singh, we welcome you for this webinar and look for your inaugural address, please. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me thank and congratulate National CSR Network for organizing this very important webinar at a very important juncture. As everyone knows, right from our childhood, we keep, in fact, during our school days, I always used to do those two lines when we said, Rahiman pani rakhiye, bin pani sab soon, pani gaye na ubro, moti manus chun. From there to saying that Jal hi Jeevan hai, and without water, one cannot even imagine any kind of life form on this earth, to a quote from one of the vice presidents, World Bank, when he said that the next world war would not be fought over oil and gas, it would be fought over water. So all that we are aware of. So I don't think this is a forum where I need to emphasize the need for water security for the country and the need for everyone's access to clean water actually. But then this COVID, if you really see the COVID, the first line of defense in this COVID has been basically the availability of clean water to everyone and the hygiene. And that is why today the water, which has been important all along, has assumed a greater significance actually. And that is why, as you are aware, I would start with basically the two government programs very briefly. One is the Jal Jeevan Mission. And by this time, you all know that Jal Jeevan Mission has been launched. The Honorable Prime Minister announced it on 15th of August in 2019 from the ramparts of Red Fort, where he talked about basically giving a good quality, adequate quantity water to every household on their own premises by way of a functional tap connection actually. And the other program which you all are aware, which has been under implementation for last 6 years, we have already achieved a greater success, had been Swach Bharat Mission, and we are continuing that Swach Bharat Mission with the aim of sustaining the Swach Bharat Mission 1 in terms of Swach Bharat Mission 2, and also managing what is called solid and liquid waste management. So these two, these two initiatives are there, which is even more important now at this time where COVID is playing havoc throughout the world actually. But when talking of Jal Jeevan Mission, and we are saying that every household must get a tap water, good quality tap water in adequate quantity, then where does this water will come from? A lot of people, if you ask a student where does the water come from, he says it comes from tap. Now, tap is not source of water actually. One should understand where does the water come from. So if we have all this 3,60,000 crore rupees which we will spend, and we will have network everywhere, distribution network, we will have tanks, we will have taps, we will have boring. But when we found that there is no water coming from the tap, then the whole, the government, such an important mission will lose its meaning actually. So what is most important, and I would like basically to talk on that primarily because the kind of people who are participating in it and the kind of job CSR network does is basically what I call a source sustainability. That without sustainability, and that is why you remember sometimes back this ministry, which was a separate ministry for water resource, river development and Ganga rejuvenation, and separate ministry for drinking water and sanitation has been integrated into one ministry and called Jal Shakti. And the whole purpose of integration has been that demand side of water and supply side of water should basically talk to each other. Initially, the one who supplies is not bothered about demand, and one who is demanding the water, he thinks that it is job of a supplier to supply water. But where does that water come from actually? So integration basically purpose has been that. So with that in view, we all have to work basically for ensuring, as some statistics was made available to you, that how India, what is the total precipitation in India, how much of that is utilizable, what is our current demand, how our per capita availability of water has been going down. Naturally so, there is not a great science in the sense that if your water availability, even if it remains constant, so if the numerator is constant and denominator keeps on increasing, like whatever population we have is almost 4 or 5 times more than what population we had at the time of independence. So if we have the total precipitation remains same as, let's say, around 4,000 BCM, and that the denominator becomes 4 or 5 times, naturally the quotient or the would be naturally 1/4 or 1/5 of what it used to be. And even availability, even though maybe total availability is not really going to be getting affected so much, but this new elephant in the room called climate change is creating even bigger problem, in the sense that we otherwise, everybody talks of that India has a very peculiar rainfall distribution. Our rainfall distribution over time and space is very weird or very skewed. We have in the country areas which gets 5,000 millimeter rainfall. We have areas in the country who gets 200 millimeter rainfall. And most of our rainfall are confined to what is called a monsoon months actually. Now, monsoon months, earlier monsoon used to be different. I remember during my school days or even during my college days, these months like July, August and all, you can find almost it rains every day. Slowly and slowly it be running whole day, raining whole day. It's not happening any longer. Now you may get 2 hours or 3 hours of torrential rain, and for next 10 days or 15 days, you may not get any rains actually. So rainfall distribution is also becoming very weird. And that is why this role of the water, a sustainable water management, is becoming more and more important actually. And with that in view, if you recall, Honorable Prime Minister has every last Sunday of the month, he comes at 11 a.m. He comes on a program called Man Ki Baat. And Man Ki Baat has, of course, very large reach, because even in rural areas and all, one can reach. And in very Man Ki Baat, when he assumed, after the second time he assumed as Prime Minister of the country, for more than 10-12 minutes, he talked basically about the water conservation. He talked about how India had a very glorious tradition of water management at one point of time, and how over a period of time, perhaps we have not kind of given respect to the water it deserved actually. We took it for granted that water would be available, and which has brought us to this situation. And thereafter, almost every Man Ki Baat, he has touched upon this issue of water conservation, and he also has mentioned about some of the good works being done either in some rural areas, or some good work has been done by an individual or by a district collector or whatever he has been kept talking of. And basically to take that message that water should be everybody's business actually. Water is not a business of only a central government, a state government, district administration. How the water becomes everybody's business, with that aim in view, last year we had launched what was called a Jal Shakti Abhiyan. Now, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, as the name suggests, was not a program. It was a campaign actually. The idea was that everybody, हमारे मंत्री जी कहते रहते हैं कि पानी जो है वो सबके चिंतन और चेतना का विषय बनना चाहिए actually. Everybody should be concerned and everybody should talk about water actually. And with that in view, we had last year very successfully launched Jal Shakti Abhiyan. This year also we were all prepared. From 15th of April, we were about to launch the Jal Shakti Abhiyan when this pandemic affected us, and we have not been able to launch the program in that way. But we have launched something called, which I think all the people should participate. What we say that catch the rain where it falls. In fact, we say catch the rain where it falls, when it falls. So this catch the rain is something which is very important actually. Because as I told you, India still gets about more than 1000 millimeter of rainfall, and which is not on an average I'm talking of, which is not bad actually. But if we can now, we were told about the how much storage we have. Whenever we talk of a storage, we talk of basically large dams. Large dams has played its part, no doubt about that. But then large dams today, their days, I would admit that their days are numbered actually. If you want to build a large dams, it's well nigh impossible right now actually, because the kind of problems you have right from its location, the best sites already dams have been built, to the fact that it requires a lot of R&R, which is not very any longer easy. The land acquisition, forest clearance, wildlife clearance, environment clearance, lots of problems are there. So I would say my take on this is that water problem is basically a decentralized problem. And so we need to seek the solutions in a decentralized manner. Then only talking of basically that we construct one place, a huge dam, and then they take water 200 kilometers or 300 kilometers or 400 kilometers. I don't think that's really, maybe in certain areas where rainfall is very less, that could be a solution. But elsewhere, the solution lies in our own hand. Like in Delhi, we talking of that we are not getting enough water from Haryana, we are not getting enough water from Yamuna or Ravi, Vyas or Satluj or whatever it may be. But how much are we basically the kind of rainfall which takes place even in Delhi? Delhi is not somewhere where lots of rainfall takes place. But you go to a particular place. I remember sometimes back before this pandemic took last year, one of the days I was in India International Center, and the kind of rainfall took place and the way we were not able to stand anywhere, so much water was there. But then we are not harvesting that water. So what is important is that today you talk of all this, half the floods which you listen these days are not basically riverine flood. Last year, everybody was talked of Patna getting flooded. It was not that the Ganges water entered the Patna city. The Patna was flooded because the water from Patna could not go anywhere. It could not go even to water bodies, because we had large number of water bodies in every city. Rural areas, of course, had huge water bodies, but all cities, some of the cities were known as city of lakes or cities of water bodies, be it Chennai, be it Bangalore, be it Delhi. All those lakes or water bodies have simply disappeared. Either it has been encroached upon, it has got filtered up, silted up, filled up, silted up. It is utilized for basically dumping for wastewater, wastewater or solid waste or whatever it may be. Now, one, of course, maybe as a part of development, we have concretized the city. So the water doesn't go inside the earth, which is the largest reservoir actually. All our reservoir put together, as has been pointed out, stores less water than what water is stored beneath the ground actually. What we call groundwater storage. More than 430 billion cubic meter of water. So we don't allow the water to percolate down or infiltrate the earth, because we have tried to concretize every conceivable space actually, because for us a development means concretization. Development means building. And when we constructed building, we did not bother about that at least the way through the channels through which water was going into water bodies. Now, some of the water bodies are existing, but water is not coming to water bodies because we have encroached upon that channel, or we have built on something on the channel without bothering for the right of way for the water. Our problem is that we think of our way, but we don't think of right of way for water. We don't think of a right of, let's say, a river, because we encroach upon floodplains with the impunity which we are not supposed to do it actually. And the consequences are for all of us to see. So I would say that one of the most important, and that's why we have taken up, I will tell you a couple of examples also, not all, is basically all of us and the people who are here and all those companies which are associated or a part of this network, if they could work basically for, if nothing else, bringing the water bodies to life. If we can rejuvenate each and every water body which at one point of time has existed in this country, I would say that our problem to a very large extent will get sorted out. Today we are getting reports every day. Bihar has launched something called Jal Jeevan Haryali Mission. And we keep getting reports from there that how water has made a difference to the water table in one season. Maybe because last year also rains were good, this year also maybe some parts rains are good actually. But then you allowed basically a space for the water to get stored and basically allow that water to infiltrate into the ground. And that's why the groundwater recharge is taking place. So whichever states, number of states has got taken initiative, but whichever states has taken initiative, the result is there for people to be seen. It is not only the states, some of the district administration. I always take up because if the I am trying basically to talk to reach as many district magistrate as possible, because if for district magistrate water becomes one of his priority, then he can find a solution for his own district. I remember on a number of occasions I talked of. Once, twice I have gone to a district called Banda. Now, if you know Banda, some of you must be aware that Banda is basically in Uttar Pradesh in a Bundelkhand region. Now, when someone talks of Bundelkhand, the first thing perhaps comes to mind is the scarcity of water. When in this country, when you talk of basically water scarce areas, maybe you talk of some areas of Rajasthan or Gujarat, or maybe Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, or you talk of basically Bundelkhand region of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, that border region. And today the situation is much changed there. And that is because the district administration took up themselves that we have to make all, they launched a program, or I would say the mission called Kuan Talao Jiyao Abhiyan. It looks awkward. Maybe in this age of advancement, when everybody talks of only a tap water or something, mission called Kuan Talao Jiyao Abhiyan, Kuan Talao ko jinda karne ka mission. And when I went there that day, of course, we had lots of program, but one of the program was that in the evening, in 7,000 wells, in all wells, 5 women lit a lamp each actually. So 35,000 lamps were lit, basically to show the respect to water, the respect to wells. And the district has not only kind of made their tanks alive, they have made the wells alive, and the results are for everyone to see there actually. Similar kind of initiatives. Again, I would talk of one more district only. I will not name many. The district called Udham Singh Nagar. In Udham Singh Nagar, what was done? The district magistrate, all he did was first he survey. First he went to records of rights and then find out how many tanks or ponds or water bodies basically existed at that point of time on record. And then he found out, then he did a survey, actual physical survey, and it was found that 50% of those tanks or ponds have either been encroached upon or are not existing actually. And then he did further. First of all, what he did is those which were not encroached upon, he tried to rejuvenate them either through mainly through MGNREGA, but also through something he called MSR. Like as you are saying CSR, this is my social responsibility, because they were not big kind of industries and all there. Maybe there were smaller industries. There were people like a stone, someone was running a stone crusher or something. So those kind of people were asked that, okay, you give us only for 15 days, you give us an excavator or maybe a dozer, dumper kind of thing, which would be useful to expedite the work for desilting of a tank or a pond. And not only, so one, he could do it, which were encroachment free. And then out of those which were encroached, about 600 tanks, he could find out that there are two kinds of encroachment. One is permanent encroachment, one is a temporary encroachment. Permanent encroachment are difficult to remove. Somebody has constructed a house, a school building has come, a Gram Panchayat building has come, a road has come. About that right now. But the 50% of them, another 300, which was temporarily encroached, somebody was cultivating or somebody was using as a dumping ground, that was identified, it was made encroachment free, and those were also rejuvenated or innovated. And with that, we would be able to almost about 800 or so tanks have been basically made functional. So they are only some of the examples I am giving. So there is a lot of scope as far as rejuvenation of water bodies are concerned. It could be a tank, it could be a pond, it could be a lake, it could be a wetland. Because many of them, we do not understand their roles many times actually. What is the role of a wetland? What is the role of a lake actually? So I feel that we are trying to make this Catch the Rain campaign as a movement I would request that many of you, because there are people who at one point, at one end, there are people who are ready to work actually. But then either maybe some is being done in Government of India programs, like you have a programs like MGNREGA, where most of the expenditure is basically done on a groundwater, on a water conservation or soil conservation. But that may not be possible to do it everywhere, because there are areas, because this is a labor oriented scheme actually. So if the demand of labor is not there, where the work under this scheme cannot be taken. So there are very large number of good non-government organizations who are doing their bit, but what they are doing is maybe they are able to do 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we can join hands basically with those kind of mainly I would say non-government organizations. If you join with hands with good non-government organizations, and government can also chip in both with the funding as well as with technical support. We have organizations like Central Groundwater Board who understands the aquifer, who can give a technical input, etc., and make this something as a movement, maybe in a mission mode, that we think that maybe next 2 years or 3 years kind of, if we are able to rejuvenate all our water bodies, I think we would be able to sort out to a very large extent our problems. Friends, there are many other aspects of water I could have talked about, because someone rightly, I think Mr. Wani has talked about that our water use efficiency. He was talking that how 89%, the Equistat data says that 89% of water basically goes into agriculture. Now agriculture, so that's why a lot of people say that unless we make a dent in the way water is used in agriculture, it would be very, very difficult to basically ensure the water security for the country. He was talking of the groundwater. Now we all know, we think that, and he also mentioned about the self-sufficiency in food grains and kind of a green revolution which brought about the self-sufficiency in food grains. See, a lot of us wrongly in a way understand that the self-sufficiency in food grain or the green revolution has mainly come because of we build large dams and we build canals. They have their own contributions. But do you know, even in Punjab, a state like Punjab, where you have so many large dams and you have canals network everywhere, there 77% of water for irrigation comes from groundwater actually. In Uttar Pradesh, which has one of the oldest canal system, like Upper Ganga canal system, such a huge system which was built even prior to independence, there 80% water comes basically from a groundwater source. Now, which brought basically so much prosperity to the country is today basically begging for sustainability. There are aquifers in Punjab, Haryana, and many other states where exploitation of the level of development, groundwater development, is 150%, 200%, somewhere it gets to 50%, which means basically that we are putting X amount of water in the earth and we are drawing 2x or 2.5x actually. But how long? It is like, if I am spending more than I am earning, maybe if I have some fixed deposit, I would be basically spending from that fixed deposit. But how long? So it's very important that this groundwater recharge or groundwater sustainability, and that's why we have a program this year have launched. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister has launched that program on 25th December last year from Vigyan Bhavan. It's called Atal Bhujal Yojana. And the idea is basically Atal Bhujal Yojana is, it's not a very huge scheme in terms of money like Atal, like Jal Jeevan Mission. But it talks of a paradigm shift in the way in which groundwater is managed. We all talk of participatory groundwater management. You are hearing it for very long. Everybody perhaps knows about a Hibre Bazaar or Apuria or some such experiment actually, that how one young Sarpanch of in Ahmednagar district, Hibre Bazaar, Mr. Popat Rao Pawar, who was given also last year Padma Shri, how he brought about a change in the village by just managing water in a participatory mode. So, but for the government, for the first time, have brought out a scheme which is being implemented in so many 7 states right now, which basically talks of participatory groundwater management, emphasis on demand side management, not so much on supply side management. Now, in just 1 minute, I would like to speak on why a participatory groundwater. What is this participatory groundwater management? the people must know. I remember once I heard a lecture where it was told that either the aquifer has to come to the people or we have to take the people to the aquifer. People should know how much rainfall they are getting. So measuring rainfall is not something a rocket science actually, which a villager cannot know. How their, let's say, water table in his well is changing, a villagers can very well measure actually. So how much rainfall are getting, how much rain is penetrating into the earth, how much is the runoff, so how is the water table is going up and down. All this can, based on all this data, what he can do is he can do basically water busting actually. And based on water busting, most of the cases it will be deficit budget, and then he can go for a water security plan. And the water security will talk of what kind of things one needs to do on a supply side management and what one needs to do a demand side management. So in this also, demand side management could be right from a promotion of micro irrigation to crop pattern change to many things actually, which I did not be discussing all that. So that's another area that participatory groundwater management is very important. And if in some way companies can get involved in that also, it would be something very good, maybe by way of empowering farmers or villagers in understanding these concepts of water busting or water security plan or something. The last thing I would like to talk is that we are also now giving a lot of emphasis on basically wastewater management. Wastewater management has been something in this country which has not received the kind of attention it should. First of all, we don't treat much of our wastewater actually. And even if whatever water we treat actually, we do not utilize that wastewater properly. So we have taken a lot of initiatives to bring about a paradigm shift in the way which wastewater management by concepts like hybrid annuity mode and all, so that it is not only that you construct a sewage treatment plant, but you also operate it. And thereafter, number of states have gone for a recycle reuse policy, whereby the water which is treated is utilized basically, because it looks pretty awkward that a lot of people here who would be here right now, they have some kind of industry or whatever it may be. Now it's, in my opinion, it's a criminal that I draw a fresh water either from ground as a groundwater or as a surface water, and thereafter, after dirtying it, or I leave it into a drain or something which finds place to a water body, whether it's a river or any other kind of water body, to dirty it actually. Now, how long we can afford that actually? Because so another area where I would say that maybe a CSR network can work would be basically rejuvenation of small rivers. I'm not talking of, everybody talks of river cleaning. I don't talk of river cleaning. It's basically a river rejuvenation. And river rejuvenation basically means bringing water back to the river. What is important? River is one which flows. Yamuna in Delhi ceases to be a river because it doesn't flow for 8 months or 9 months. 8 months, we don't have any water, flowing water in the river actually. And that's why the river is dead. But we all talk of big rivers. We talk of Ganga, Krishna, Kaveri, Narmada, such rivers. But then there are tributaries, what we call a first order tributary, second order tributary, third order tributary. So these tributaries, unless you basically take care of tributaries, you cannot take care of the main river actually. So that's also maybe some of the, I would request that some of the companies could think in terms of maybe adopting a small, what do you call generally rivulet. Many times those rivers are no longer called rivers. For example, in Delhi, you have Najafgarh drain. Najafgarh drain is basically a Sahibi river which starts from Rajasthan and flows and a tributary of Yamuna. But today we know it as a, or you go to Hindon, you go to Krishni, you go to Kali West, which is tributary of Hindon. They don't look any longer, they don't look like a river actually. They have been converted into drains. And for that, industries are also equally responsible. So I think that maybe I have tried to speak mainly that what we can do together. Couple of areas if we can choose. One area is basically, in my opinion, basically rejuvenation of traditional water bodies. If we can work on that, and the other could be an area where we could also rejuvenate some of the very smaller kind of river, not a very big river kind of. So if these two areas I would be happy if the CSR a network join hands with government as well as non-government organizations and make some difference to it, because it is not basically that I would not say it's so much of a part of corporate social responsibility, but it's also a matter of a survival actually, because water is not needed by human beings also, water is needed by industry, water is needed by everyone else actually. And you remember recently a lot of companies has come to me, a problem which has been created because of the NGT order, but which policy paralysis has been there in certain areas for withdrawal of groundwater. And that is primarily because feeling goes that enough is not being done for basically managing the water in a sustainable manner. Everybody is interested only basically exploiting or over exploiting ground or surface water, but we are not doing enough to kind of give it back to the earth from where we draw water. So friends, I would not like to take more of your time. Thank you very much for giving an opportunity. And I do look forward to, because you are working in so many fields, and maybe water has also been a part of your this thing. But I, considering today's situation, I feel that there is a need to be a little more focused attention from a CSR network also, as far as the water related issues are concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Singh sir. And very rightly you have highlighted the water management, rainwater harvesting, wastewater treatment and reuse, groundwater recharge, and definitely identified the potential areas where companies and corporates can join the hands with the government departments for scaling it up, the benefits for the benefit of the common people in the country. Thank you very much, Singh sir. Now I would request Mr. Ashwini Saxena, the CEO of JSW Foundation, and by profession he is a geologist, has worked in number of companies earlier like SR, and also with UNIDO he has worked on the individual cluster development and the community intellectual property rights. And with IFC World Bank aided project, he led the initiative for the small and MSMEs. He is basically the executive member during that time of the in Zimbabwe with SR. He was also executive member of the Zimbabwe India Chamber of Commerce. And we look forward to hear from Mr. Ashwini ji about the water management under the CSR initiative.
Thank you, Dr. Wani. I hope I am audible and I'm visible as well. Dr. Wani, can you confirm if I am audible and visible? You are not audible to me right now.
Mr. Saxena, you are audible and visible both.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Am I being able to share the presentation also? I'm going to be very brief on that.
Yes, please. You're able to share.
Perfect. We look at the water issue from a whole range of things, by looking at the integrated waste management, water management, mangrove restoration, livelihoods, and public health, because these are all very integrated kind of issues as we look at them. In terms of internal and environment, I'll not touch into too many details. This is just an overview of what we are into. So we are into paints, infrastructure, cement. We happen to be one of the first cement plants in the world, in the country, which is only using steel slag. So a lot of circular economy initiatives that we take. And there's a lot of reusage of flue gases from the steel plant to generate energy and vice versa. So that's a kind of a take that we have. In terms of water management within our steel plants, these are some of the technologies that are being used for oil removal, for looking at guard ponds and membrane bioreactors, so that the township's sewage can be reused for the purposes. Looking at coke oven zero liquid discharge plants. I mean, these are some of the things which are very pioneering kind of initiatives that we've taken as a part of our sustainability work. And I think this photograph is very pertinent, which shows that, when the BOD plant inlet gets the water, what kind of a water it is, and finally what comes out of it. I think that itself talks about a lot about it. I'll touch upon the in external environment in a big way. I don't know why this is not happening. Yeah, okay. So what I'm trying to address here is that I'm talking about interdependency, and I think which Mr. Singh in his in his speech touched upon very significantly. That when we look at water, we look at water in three different ways together. We see that water as an entity is ensconced into three key pillars. One is sanitation part, the second is the water resource management part, and the third one is the overall environment. And between the interface of these three key pillars, between sanitation and water resource management, on one hand you have rainwater harvesting, and on the other hand you have things like wastewater, which very importantly touched upon by Mr. Singh, and I'll cover some of the things that we are doing. And at the interface of water resource management and environment, we see mangrove restoration, given our geographical footprint, becomes a very important activity to be looked at, because mangroves happen to be one of not just the carbon sequesters, but also happen to reduce the salinity, which would otherwise ingress inside the neighboring fields, and which will affect the livelihoods of the people. So I think that's another element that we look at very keenly. And I will not go into the numbers. Sorry, let me just go back to the first slide again. And similarly, between the interface of environment and sanitation, while solid waste management looks as if it's not connected to water, but I think the plastic menace that all of us see in our country today is a very clear example of how this plastic goes and then clogs not just the drains, but also the water bodies and the sea beaches as well. So I think that's another initiative, which is very important. And then, of course, the plantation, which is an important integral part of the watershed work that we've done. In fact, with ICRISAT's partnership, when Dr. Wani was there, and even today we continue that relationship. Just some numbers, I will not go into the details of that. Lot of check dams and etc. The key highlight that I would like to touch upon is that all this work that I'm talking of is not our work, it is the community's work, where the community has participated, the community has contributed, and because of this desilting, repairing, rejuvenation of water bodies, repairing of channels, I think all these things have been done in very close participation with the government and the communities in the neighboring areas. Now, the another element that I wanted to touch upon is, that what we as a corporate are trying to work upon is that rather than we just taking up small little activities of, contour trenching somewhere and desilting somewhere, it's important for us to also invest in right kind of a data-driven approach, so that we create a framework on which we can collaborate and innovate together as different constituents of the society. So what here is an example that I wanted to showcase, where the entire Palghar district, government of Maharashtra came up with a scheme, Jalvik Shivar, where people were supposed to contribute for rejuvenation of water bodies by desilting them. I would like to highlight that, with ICRISAT's partnership, we did this work many years ago in the entire Palghar district where we were working, and a lot of dams, small check dams and weirs, which were constructed in the year 2000 or 99, they were kind of rejuvenated by us almost 14 years later in 2013, 2014. And because of which a lot of water retention could happen, and those marginal, I would say, farmers, tribal farmers who were migrating away did not migrate further, because now water was available for small subsistence level agriculture at least 10 months of a year. So taking cue from that, and the silt that was taken out is, since it is rich in soil, rich in nutrients, this was given to the farmers so that they could also rejuvenate their soils and do better crops. So that was some work that we did in 2014, 2012. And taking cue from that, this time when this Jal Shivar scheme came from government of Maharashtra, and we tried to get into the details of it, we realized that the data that is on the basis of which this whole planning is being done is as dated as 2008. And in 2019 or 2018, if we are making a plan, surely we should not be banking upon a data which is as dated as 10 years old. So we therefore then collaborated with CII, and they have this software called WhatScan, which we utilized for doing a macro district, fully knowing that we may not be capable, to take care of the entire problem of the district, but at least we can create a template. So we created this template, we did this study, This study was then shared with the district administration, with the local NGOs there, with the other corporates who are working in that region. And what we've kind of agreed upon together with the championing and I would say the leading by the government is that we would take care some critical tasks that are surely within our means and scope, and government would be the custodian of this entire database, basis which it can allocate its own resources more judiciously, and it can also allocate work to other corporates who would like to work in this area and the NGOs who would like to work up, so that the sum total of our efforts would not go into disparate directions, but it would be kind of bringing in convergence. So we thought that this is a convergence model by which we can create this template first and then see how we can bring people together. So I think L&T and a number of other corporates who are working in that region have taken this report. The district administration has been very kind to design their future plans on the basis of this report itself. So I just thought, let me share this example as one case. And I think another important element that I would like to touch upon, which Mr. Singh very importantly spoke about, is to focus on grey water as well. We always talk about blue water and green water, but the water that we are discarding, are we being cautious about it or not? And Dr. Wani and I have been knowing each other for so many years, and Dr. Wani would recall how we tried doing this project even in Durgapur, where we tried to see how the interstitial rock fluid water which is coming out, how it can be changed. So rather than treating water as a nuisance, that this is a wastewater and throwing it away, we should realize that this is a very precious commodity and can we put it to good use. So this constructed wetland concept, which we've kind of scaled up with ICRISAT in Ballari district, especially in the neighboring regions of our steel plant, I think it has shown some tremendous results. We did some pilots in the beginning with our own resources. Now the Gram Panchayats are coming forward. And since we are working very closely with the Gram Panchayats on solid waste management also, now the Gram Panchayats are doing these constructed wetlands on their own. The entire maintenance is being done by them. And we are now looking at how we can connect these water bodies, the ponds in which this treated water is being collected, to be further distributed for agricultural and other purposes. So this is one thing that we are very excited about, and we are surely going to scale it up across the length and breadth of our country where we can. Just to give you a small example of how we've tried to recover mangroves, I think the green part of the map would show you what was the status in 1995 and what it became by 1997. From 2015, we've been working in that region. In fact, 2013 or 12, I think we started off the first phase. And I think the green color would surely tell you that how the restoration of the mangroves has led to decrease in the salinity of the region, and how the overall I would say the effect of salinity has been reduced in this entire space. So I think when I'm talking about, I would just end it here. What I would like to say is that rather than we focusing on just a few initiatives that we can do as an institution, I think it's very important for us to collaborate with each other and see how we can utilize the available resources at our disposal at an individual level. And I would make an earnest request that we would be very happy to work with the government very closely on the water distribution schemes, because in a lot of rural areas also, we've observed that while we have done overhead tanks and a number of other things in Raigad district, if we can use some of the resources to supply piped water to the villages, a lot of distributive justice would come in, and the wastages of water that happens because of the tanker mafia, that also can be curbed to a great extent. Thank you. Over back to you, Dr. Wani. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ashwini, for highlighting the work which has been done by the JSW Foundation in partnership with the community and the research organizations and the government on the area of rainwater management, recycling of wastewater, and recycling of the solid waste also, as well as rehabilitating the wetlands in the Konkan region. Now I think we'll have Mr. Sunder, who will be speaking on the topic from the Vedanta. And Mr. Sunder has 18 years of long experience in the development sector, working with Chiron Vedanta since 2007, and from 2017 he is working as the head of the CSR, and the mission of the Vedanta is to reach 1 crore farmers, and they are benchmarking their work with the Tata iron and steel companies CSR as such. So over to Sundar.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So it's a pleasure to have a discussion to make a presentation on our initiative on CSR aspects, sir. Vedanta, as a Vedanta company, we are a sixth largest diversified natural resource company, sir. Right from India, South Africa, and other countries as well. And we are into the field of oil, gas, zinc, lead, copper, iron ore, and aluminium as well, sir. And you would be we would be happy to know Vedanta contributes 1% towards India's GDP, sir. And as far as aluminium sector is concerned, which I represent the aluminium sector, we are the we produce 2 million tons of aluminium, and we single-handedly handle 37% of India's and 59% of Odisha's production, sir. And aluminium, we understand, our understanding goes, it's a future metal and has a significant strategic importance. Plus, about this, more importantly, we strongly believe in giving back to the society. That's our vision of our chairman. And we see as a core market segments at market leaders, sir. This is a quick introduction about our Vedanta, sir. And now going forward, our CSR footprint, I would not take much time, sir. This is a footprint. We have our reach in 72 villages, benefiting around touching the lives of more than 76,000 people. And we have a strong women network of through Subhalakshmi Cooperative. Around more than 3,900 women are linked through this. And we have health services, and through different key infrastructure project, we have developed 580 key infrastructure, sir. And we have a thematic intervention as well in this location. Then coming back, this is the talking point we have been given. So I will just quickly take over the scenario of Odisha, where we are representing from Jharsuguda. Approximate around 155.75 is the total square meter of land, out of which 90% is the cultivable land, sir. When you see specifically this tribal communities, sir, around 21% tribal community, they hold the land of cultivable. But when it comes to the cultivation, only 9.1% are tribal operated, sir. And of course, Odisha is a predominantly paddy kharif cultivation. Our major focus is on paddy cultivation. And what we understand from our water challenges is that they find difficult to conserve the water which goes off because due to mainly hilly regions, sir. And leveraging science and technology, that is one challenges this area face. Plus perennial water sources restricted to only food areas, sir. So this is the overall challenges. And to summarize this, now I'll be just taking over what is our specific intervention in the field of water management and the livelihood activities. This is our overall initiative, what we have done so far, sir. So around our operational area, what we did is we ensured 21% of the land are cultivated. That one thing we have done, and our goal is to secure economic prosperity among the community. And so far, when you see our interventions, sir, 8 cluster borewell we have done, percolation tank and unit tidal pumps, And another important thing what we have done is through district agriculture department, we ensured 5 units of lift irrigation point are there around our surrounding villages, sir. This one key initiative we have done, and we are proud of it. And other thing what we have done is there is a natural here we find everywhere the ponds, so we renovate those ponds, and over since last 2-3 years we have renovated more than 48 ponds, which is a size of 25 into 30. Then through direct government intervention by partnering with NABARD and line department, we brought more than 20 lakhs of direct contribution apart from the villages contributions, sir. Then if we want to project the one single case study, what we are proud of it, which we have taken in the next phase also, that is called Project Jivika, sir. Before our intervention, the agriculture people used to do only the single crop cultivation. What we primarily concentrated on this is we concentrated in renovating the existing water source, and plus digging the open well and ponds. In that way we contributed, and today this seeing the success of this project, around we didn't work with the larger farmer community, but we worked with a very specific number, 110 farmers we worked in the first phase. And because of this, today they are having a two crop area, they are doing, so that this is one major achievement. And seeing this success, what we have done is we have extended this project to phase 2 by covering more than 250 farmers, sir, around our immediate operational area only. So now if we can see, the farmers are willingly coming forward, and they are because we do the community consultation meeting at the village level, we take the input, plus take the input from line department. With their involvement, we establish all these activities, sir. So our key learnings, if I want to summarize, yes, our success depends more on how collaborative with government schemes, and that we are now aspire to extend our work closely with more bringing the government schemes to the village. That is our main motto. And then development of agriculture infrastructure, sustained lead awareness, then creation of agriculture structure to conserve the water, to increase the groundwater, which we are keep on doing and we are committed to do. And this is all about our CSR focused intervention in the field of water management, sir. And today, with the 250 farmers plus our neighboring villages, we are intervening. Jalbu Abhiyan, we are concentrating. We are taking the water conservation movement through the schools. So that kind of activities we are focusing more on this, sir. And as far as Vedanta is concerned, we are proudly, at whatever the manner we can contribute to the community, we continue to do. So this is all about our presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunder. And very nice to know that Vedanta in Odisha is working on with farmers, particularly the tribal farmers, which is definitely a challenging task. You have sown the good seeds, and I'm sure that with Vedanta's power, you will be able to scale it up and see that you are able to harness the schemes from the government of Odisha as well as the central government, and see that beneficiaries are increased more than what you are talking in the second phase of 250 farmers in the tribal belt. Thank you very much, Mr. Sundar.
Thank you, sir.
Now we will be calling on Mr. Sourav Daspatnaik, who is the CEO of Swach Environment Ltd with 30 years of experience. He is also independent director of number of companies. He has worked with the Tata Motors and basically also water, wastewater and solid waste and waste to energy programs. He has also overseas experience in the Southeast Asia, particularly working in Myanmar, Singapore, and Thailand. We look forward to hear from Sourav. Over to you, Sourav.
Okay. First of all, my sincere thanks to the National CSR Network, Mr. Mohit Gandhi, and the entire board of National CSR Network, and Dr. Wani for having us here. We are in business of water. Am I audible? Is my vision clear? Is the slide?
Yeah, sure, audible and clear also.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are in the business of water. We are a part of the Srei infrastructure group where we are, managing and developing and investing on water assets, water and wastewater, as Dr. U.P. Singh mentioned some time back. And I was really pleased to see some of the presentations of esteemed colleagues from JSW and from Vedanta. And I think this, what U.P. Singh Saab mentioned about the collaborative effort, is something which we'll all have to do together to save this planet. So basically, all of us are familiar with this chart. Earth's ecosystem contains essentially finite element of fresh water, and growth of agriculture, population, and industry means that there is not going to be enough water going around in future. And I think some of us are pretty familiar. Some of my colleagues in Africa and other parts of the world are pretty familiar with these challenges, and parts of India as well. So we would like to do a case study of what Delhi is, and Delhi, most of us are familiar with. Delhi has severe challenges of water, both groundwater as well as drinking water. Now, if you see the population of Delhi, it's about and the entire area which covers the city of Delhi, large population is actually not covered with entire water supply water. I think there is some noise background. Requesting people who would not be speaking to kindly put it on mute, please. Don't mind. So coverage with supply network is a big challenge, and all of us are familiar with it. And Delhi pipeline network, in spite of the archaic, pipeline network which has been set up last 7 to 8 years, there's been a lot of effort to improve the pipeline delivery of water. This is the overall. See, a lot of people talk about the Delhi. Where is the water going to come from Delhi? So it's a complete grid of water which is coming from the Himalayas, from the Bakrananga Dam, the Satluj Yamuna Link Canal, and the Yamuna, of course. And this is where the problem starts. There is going to be a demand. Already there is a demand gap of current demand gap of over 100 million gallons per day of fresh drinking water. And going forward, by 2025, as the population of Delhi keeps on increasing, we will have estimated to have minimum gap. And these are all studies done by the Delhi Jal Board and the NCIO and the Federal of gallons per day, which means is 135 is not going to get more than 50 LPCD. We fulfill by 24/7 water national priority under the Jal Jeevan scheme. Now, if you look at the network, Delhi has major line, and the line network is around 15,000 kilometers. Renewables are also available. But as you know, NGT has strictly now prohibited raw groundwater, especially in areas where water is available. Easier and boosting cases. So I think out of this, we as a company and have set up an SPV, which is into a build, own, operate, transfer scheme of water treatment right from intake at Bhavana and the entire water treatment at Nangloi, and then entire network and filtration. So this is a joint venture between Veolia of France and Swach, and this is the investment which is called Nangloi Water Services on a 15-year concession of build, own, operate, and transfer of this project. This is one of the largest 24/7 PPP projects under DBFOT in the country. More than about, I will get you the statistics, and I think the reason I am explaining to you is that most of our urban areas are actually facing severe water scarcity. Going forward, drinking water in pipeline is going to be actually a pipe dream if you don't address some of the challenges. Now, if you see Delhi, this is the Delhi and boundary, and our command area covers a large portion of around 137 square kilometers, which is further divided into Najafgarh, and I think Mr. Our respected secretary sir mentioned about Najafgarh Nala. It is actually a river. So we also commanding the Najafgarh, Munka, Mohan Garden, and Nanglo areas. These are some of the areas, not always the posh areas of Delhi, but the semi and peri-urban areas of Delhi. 129 square kilometers. So almost about 9 to 10% of Delhi of water, the project area, and about 1.5 million people being serviced, which attributes to around 8 to 9% of the population of Delhi. Now, this further zone is divided into the district metering areas, and this is where like a distribution of power, the water grid is getting formed as we are reaching out new areas which were not being covered earlier at all. Context of Delhi is, as we discussed, about scarcity of water, judicious use of water, conservation of groundwater, adopting rainwater harvesting. We all talk about it. But if you see online applications, very 3 to 4% of the people or households are actually doing rainwater harvesting. Now, one of the major challenges when we took over this entire project area in 2013 was illegal and unauthorized water connections. And that's what high non-revenue water. 79% of the non-revenue water is actually that means the water which is not getting billed, but is being taken out of the pipeline. And reluctance of residents to take legal connection because of the poor condition of the water supply. Now, this is a challenge which any concessionaire or agency which takes over an asset, which is an archaic old asset, and try to rejuvenate this asset is going to face. And quality of water, we all talk about the quality of water at the water treatment plant may be fantastic, but as the water reaches the household, a lot of contamination takes place. And that's where, because water is a piped source, a large amount, and it runs through many areas, there could be contamination. But so pertaining to 24 by supply, a huge problem and we took over. Some of the challenges, I have just given an example. Unauthorized connection. See the kind of rural, semi-urban areas of Delhi. Again, huge challenge to see where leakages are taking place. Go to the pipeline, Delhi, near the metro, you could see metro pillars. There are GAIL, there is MCD. There are 7 to 8 agencies you have to interact with and set up this pipeline. Almost a 1,500 kilometer pipeline had to be laid. When you took over the network health the pipeline was this condition. Most of the pipelines were scarred, highly corroded, and leakages were galore. And this is to find out where leakages, replacement of old pipelines, and laying of new pipelines. These are mammoth tasks. So we took upon ourselves as SPV at Nanglo Water Services with the support of Delhi Jal Board to engage with the community. And because the community is the key element to drive change of behavior. When you are actually driving change of behavior, it completely addresses the wash component, the IEC component, and wash element. And today we see a pandemic, and one of the most important aspects is drinking water hand wash. And with hand wash, you can actually prevent large amount of disease. And that is one of the areas. So a huge amount of exercise with the Delhi Jal Board and the local authorities, the ULBs, the municipalities, the councillors, engaging in with them to actually go for official connection, not to pilfer the water, which will contaminate not only their water, but contaminate their own relatives and the other friends. And this is where continuous education, information, and campaign to do online control of water, what is good water, how can they get the water checked at any point of time, samples are available to do ready-made checking. This kind of initiative which we took over is now actually paying through. Rainwater harvesting is an area which a large amount of Delhi should be doing. Unfortunately, in our command area, except the commercial buildings, not many are doing it. So this is a real level of not only awareness, but how to do rainwater harvesting in existing structure, existing building, and how to encourage them. So Delhi Jal Board has come up with a good amount of concession, direct transfer scheme, where people will get one-time support in setting up rainwater harvesting schemes within their existing, structures, whether it be a commercial building, school building, or a office building, or a residential complex. There is an incentive available on the rebate of the water as well. One of the important things which we found is engaging with the schools. And children are the people who actually make change happen in their families, in their immediate surroundings, in their families. So we have adopted almost 30 schools. We will constantly been engaging with the schools, and some of the schools are municipal schools, and handholding with institutions to making application for water connection. Encourage these children to encourage their parents to go for water connection. And the resident welfare housing society. This is something which is very important. Incentivizing people, incentivizing the lower income group people to get rebates. So up to 25, up to 20K per month for water is free as per the government policy. They are targeting communication to enhance awareness too. And that is where continuous scheme of EMI scheme. People cannot afford to take a large connection. There is an element of investment of 20 to 30,000 rupees for meter, installation costs, overheads, etc. So we come up with an innovative EMI scheme for on a microfinancing, which in 11 EMIs that they can easily afford to take over water. Then we do constant monitoring of the healthcare system. One of the areas which we found, scheduling a water connection camp in consultation with the local community. So that's important because the community is very powerful, and some of the areas which we talk about, the Jat, the Gujar, and other communities which are residing in the command area play a very important role in actually their community leaders play a very important role. Water meter installation drive by sensitizing the community and its benefits in allaying apprehension as whether there will be tomorrow rate hikes or not. There is a lot of apprehension. Grievance redressal system. For the first time, we have a 24/7 helpline, SMS-based system on a mobile apps. All these systems are available today for any mobile app, or your telecom is also applicable to the water facility. And that's, I think, is changing the behavior pattern of our people. Now, so what is achievement? We have achieved the reduction in the non-revenue water. There has been 91% increase in customers. Over 2 lakh house service connections have been installed. A large amount of complaints which have been lodged initially are coming down. But yes, water, I can say, is a thankless job. You will always have complaints, leakages, and you will have to be ready to burn the midnight oil and have the system to ensure supply and support system at any point of time. So over 1,400, 1,500 kilometers of pipeline laid in a city like Delhi. So going forward, last few thoughts about what U.P. Singh Saab mentioned about it. India must develop standards for efficient water reuse and use and reuse of water, grey water. Some of our colleagues mentioned about it. Encouragement for the use of reuse is very, very important because groundwater recharging is very important for us going forward for non-agriculture purposes. India's largest acquisition of water is for agriculture purposes. After that is for drinking water. An emphasis should be laid to adopt superior infrastructure and O&M practices of our existing infrastructure. Large amount of investments have been made, but infrastructure is lying not in the full use or full efficiency of the infrastructure which is invested. Large amount of urban areas are large amount and large percentage of non-revenue. This needs to be addressed. State-based tariff mechanism. Large amount of our political sector believes in free water, free air, free everything. And that's not possible to provide quality service of water if you don't engage with the community and yet charge them very, very minimal amount, but it should be chargeable. If it is free, quality cannot be assured. And private sector has to be encouraged to come in and come forward to partner in this kind of area. Desalination again is something which is on the coast is very important. And going forward, from a company perspective and from the corporate perspective, addressing social and ethical concerns for people who are unserved in our society for water. And water is basic necessity. As I am rich and poor, the pandemic has actually taught us that we have to do hand wash. Water should be available, and people are residing at home now more. So water usage is going up. Effective program governance structure will have to be set up at the local bodies, and effective revenue management, bill collection, O&M, and non-revenue water management. And this has to be all engaged with efficient and smart metering intelligence system. So that's how we can go forward to actually save water. Water you save is actually saving the water for the river, from the river and from the surface water. This is what, in short, I wanted to share our experience of case study of Delhi, one of the largest public-private partnership of 24/7 water supply.
and participation to develop and minimize the efficient use of drinking water or the piped water as such. Thank you very much. I think we are running late, but still we can have few questions, and those who would like to ask the questions to the specific speaker, kindly use your chat box and put it on so that we can take it up the few questions whichever are coming up. I think we don't see much coming on the chat box except the comment which is about the quality of water is bad nowadays. Quality check needs to be done if it is last mile contamination. These are the things.
Yeah. So there is an element of contamination for last mile, especially in areas where pilferage is taking place. And this is causing contamination. If there is any specific number of the house, if it is within our command area, we will definitely like to check it out.
CSR we operating in forest. Many command areas needs to be treated, but can't be because of the forest. How CSR agencies be guided in this and proposition of intervention in tribal forest areas. So I think in the forest areas, basically, if one has to do, you have to work along with the government and the Department of Forest. And accordingly, the watersheds are developed even in the forest areas as such. And that's where basically, if the company needs to do that, then you will have to consult government magistrate as well as the Department of Forestry officials and work out a approach or the method to work in the reserved forest areas as such. There is a comment, Dabri does not fall under Nangloi PPP area, which Mr. Daspatnaik was referring to in his presentation. Sourav, this is just a comment, you take it on the board and next time you can do the correction.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. There is a nice observation. Can we combine MNREGA, SBM and CSR fund together to bring in synergistic impact? It is very much possible to do this under SBM and CSR initiatives together using the MNREGA fund for 100 days of work in the rural areas. Under the urban areas also it is possible to look at AMRUT and SBM together with CSR initiatives.
So if there are no more questions, I will hand it over to Mohit. Back to you, Mohit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wani. So
I think Secretary Sir is not there, so you can take over now.
Yes. We are back on time. This was a very, very interesting topic, very, very technical subject, very, very niche subject. So we had a right kind of participants participating who were interested and who also felt for the need for water management and so now it is my duty to give the vote of thanks. First of all, thanks to the Honorable Secretary for sparing his time, for giving a very, very insightful presentation. And I feel it was nothing short of a concise masterclass. So, thank you so much. All the speakers were fantastic. Were masters in their own areas. And it was really, really a privilege and a pleasure to have them on the platform of National Science. First, thanks much Sourav Daspatnaik for supporting this webinar. been a great support, a great person who is not only insightful, but who also works with great empathy towards the cause of sea. Mr. Sourav Daspatnaik for supporting this webinar. Also, our thanks to Srei Communicate for being the PR partner for this webinar. In the past, whenever they have covered, they have got excellent mileage in the media. So hopefully, we should be able to get, and we will circulate. Neha from We Communicate is there. So thank you so much, Neha, for your presence. Also, thanks to Vedanta for providing this platform of WebEx, especially for always being there for her support. Mr. Saxena, thank you so much from JSW Foundation for sharing your insights and what all can be done and what all you are doing with you have done with ICRISAT and Dr. Wani. Mr. Sunder, thank you so much for speaking to Mr. Singh. You made a very concise but a very well presentation. Again, Mr. Sourav Daspatnaik was as lucid and as insightful that it can be seen from the comments in the chat box what we have received from him. And last but not the least, Dr. Wani for spearheading this, for preparing the concept note, for giving direction to this webinar, and having this webinar is always very insightful experience for all the participants. So with this, we come to the close. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.